Let's start discussing what is the best pricing strategy then to sell in Toronto right now, given the market climate. All the heat that's been going on has recently, in the last couple months, come down quite a bit. It seems to be tapering off a little bit. Well, we're going to talk about some of those stats to start off, and then we'll talk about what might be a good strategy if you want to sell your home in a timely and effective manner these days. CREA stats for May 2021 were recently announced, and the average Canadian house price is up 38% compared to last year, but down from March. That's key, guys. Keep in mind, we're comparing year over year against COVID. The worst? I don't know. I guess I can't make these broad statements, but I think it's fair to say that was a very unique real estate market, to say the least. Well, when we compare monthly, we should start to see maybe a little bit more heat, especially if May is a top month each year. Well, let's look at prices. In a news release on Tuesday from CREA, while prices are still up sharply from a year ago, the gains appear to be moderating. The average selling price of a Canadian home, guys, we're talking Canada here. Obviously, we've seen stats from Toronto from last month already on our show, but we're talking specific to the countrywide. Canadian home was $688,000 last month, a figure that has risen by more than 38%. However, it's actually down from the previous month at $696 and the month before March at $716. So there you go. The average home has dropped, what is that? Almost $30,000 in the last couple months. The volume of homes sold also seems to be cooling compared to the peak it hit in March 2021. But moving along, the suburbs truly led the charge. We can look at a home in Barrie, which is located 100 kilometers away from Toronto. It costs 57% of that cost of that same downtown unit. Not that long ago. This was pre-pandemic. Well, now it costs about 70% of the cost of a Toronto home. And on that note, I saw a really interesting Twitter post from Scott Ingram where he was outlining the number of transactions that realtors are doing out of board. And we see a pretty staggering increase during 2020, that year, of realtors going outside of TREB. A lot of them were selling real estate here and saying, hey, I'll follow you. That's okay. I can help you with that mentality that has been taking place. But that trend seems to be running out at this point. This idea of running to the suburbs. Seasonally adjusted, average selling prices are now lower in Hamilton, Kitchener, and Waterloo than they were in March. John Passalis, speaking to the market, says it is a very confusing market right now in Toronto. And some homes are still getting a lot of offers, but many are just sitting on the market taking offers anytime with few showings. We've been seeing far more offers conditional on financing and inspection. Interesting. Scott Ingram picks it up from there, looking at some of the stats on what's going on. If we're going to price our home or we're going to sell our home, we got to know what's going on in our market. Just looking over the first 3 weeks of May. So I don't want to wait till the end of the month. I want to see where are we today. Those first 3 weeks of May relative to where we're at in the first 3 weeks of June. Now there's a difference in the number of weekend days. May had 7 weekend days and June had 6 weekend days, but the numbers are pretty staggering. The 416 freeholds are down as far as the number of sales by 17%. And the 416 condos are down by 8%. So slowing, as all the agents I talk to are feeling, is how he kind of summarizes it. And when we look at the stats over the last week, 416 freeholds sold over asking now sit at 56% of them. So about 50% chance your home is going to sell over asking, which is interesting when we consider that at its peak this year, that number was at 78%. So a lot of them are coming up short on the multiple offers. So maybe the solution is we sell off market. Could that be the possibility? Well, there was an article from The Star called, "Did you get a handwritten note offering to pay cash for your house? Here's why and what you should do." Interesting. So flyers, you guys have probably received them. I know I have, scribbled with faux handwriting typeface, asking you to fork over your home in exchange for cash, right? Here's the pitch. The house will be bought with no cash, no mortgage needed. The deal can be closed as quickly as 1 week. Not the usual endless process. There's no need to worry about open houses or multiple visits during COVID. And only one visit from the soon-to-be owner is required. There's often also an incentive program. Hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you know somebody that's willing to sell their home. So is it worth selling to them? And when I read this section of the article, that's where I stopped reading this article. I realized they don't know what the heck they're talking about. This is what they say. "Don't bite," says Gus Papineau. This is a real estate agent at Realosophy. This is the response. "I haven't spoken to the people behind these flyers, but they're probably not interested in buying your home at market value." The article goes on to try and figure out the mystery of who could have written this article and why are they doing this. Save yourself the read. They're just wholesalers. It's not that complicated. I also run a wholesale business, and yes, we pay below market value. This is true. I'll clean that mystery up for you. That is unless you're okay with, burning money, in which case I've got the perfect match. But here's a shameless plug. You can join our investor list if you want access to off-market deals, because just as much as it's not a great thing for the seller to sell off-market, it's a fantastic opportunity for the buyer. And in a hot seller's market, there's no better thing to do than get a deal without multiple offers. But all that to say, if you're looking to sell your home, probably not the best idea to sell off market unless you're in a very unique situation. In some cases, it might make sense, but no question, you're not getting the full market value for selling it that way. So how should you be pricing your home on the MLS? Well, the Globe and Mail had an article called "In Toronto, Bewildering Landscape for Would-Be Buyers." This is actually I think this was the biggest article of the day today. But buyers and sellers in the Toronto area real estate market need a sound strategy and the ability to maneuver quickly in a market that has become unpredictable. After an eye-watering run-up in prices during the coronavirus pandemic and manic sales in the early months of 2021, the market seems calm with sporadic outbursts. 1 week it's up, 1 week it's down. That's absolutely taking place. But homes priced close to their value we're seeing right now aren't, for the most part, drawing multiple offers. I mean, we see that in that stat, that number of how many are actually able to pull multiple offers. Sellers who want to spark a bidding war need to price below market value. That's the key. A lot of folks are pricing their home close to what they're worth and saying, you know what, the market's crazy, they're going to push my price over. If you want to get that multiple offer, that over asking offer come through, you got to price it below market value. So what is the top marketing strategy that seems to be working right now? This is from this article, and I also kind of stand behind it. I agree. I think this is maybe the best thing you can be doing if you want to sell your place today. Setting a realistic asking price and negotiating around that mark is much more healthy than sparking chaos with bidding contests that frustrate buyers. Before we kind of wrap that up too, I want to share a bonus trend that they notice is emerging among the baby boomers, among that kind of retiring empty nester downsizing generation. Apparently, they're selling their houses now and they're keen to buy condos again after a hiatus during the pandemic. Another cohort is looking at the prices for single family homes. They're saying, hey, what a good deal in the suburb community, let's say, or the outskirts of Toronto. And they're saying, why not opt for a condo instead so that we have an easier lifestyle and, maybe travel one day? So this is an emerging trend that this is the first time I'm hearing someone talk about it. I thought I'd mention it because I think, we were seeing this downsizing empty nesters going to the condo pre-COVID. Well, now we're starting to maybe see that happening again. But if you want to sell in a frenzy, you're best to wait because it's not happening right now. Right now is not the best time for guaranteed multiple offers. The last thing you want is your property sitting there collecting dust.